I really have to give credit to TNA in May and the beginning part of June. I had no interest in the product. They had gotten me to the point where they had completely driven me away from watching Impact on a weekly basis. But Slammiversary was a good, passable show. And then, frankly, the past 4 weeks of Impact, including this week, have slowly gotten better. And they've been putting out some good, entertaining stuff. And I think building some nice momentum towards the New York City tapings that start next week. I hope TNA can keep this positive momentum going because, I'm a little bit impressed right now, frankly. You know what I really like about Kurt Angle as an authority figure right now? There's really not much in the way of a power struggle per se. He goes in, does his piece, and then it's over. And he's not pounded down your throat throughout the entire show. Like you look again at the way Impact kicked off this week. Kurt Angle's your authority figure. I kind of love the thing about how he has to take out the sheet to read off all the matches, but he reads off all the matches. He calls out Willow. He asked for Jeff Hardy to appear for one night. Actually bothers to give us some type of explanation for why the Willow character was even created to begin with. And this whole entire thing that set up the entire night very, very well, even if it maybe perhaps telegraphed who was going to win that 20-man battle royal, it took all of like 6 or 7 minutes. And then you were, bam, on to the rest of the show. It all started here at the beginning. The table was set very well. Then they sit there and show the Wolves walking backstage. You get a piece of talking by Austin Aries setting up a title match for later on in the night. And then you go, bam, right into the first of your 3 title matches on this show, this championship showcase or whatever the hell it was called. The flow of this show was tremendous, and you see how much more you could do, and you see how much better your show can be when you cut out the 15 to 20 minute opening promo segment. Short, sweet, to the point. It frees up time for everything else. And perhaps the biggest thing that gets freed up with having a short, sweet, and to the point opening segment is more time for your matches on TV. And in particular, if this is going to be some type of championship showcase and you're going to have 3 title matches on your show, then you need to make sure that you provide enough time to be able to tell the full story that you need to for those title matches and not have the old 3 to 4 minute title matches that we've come to expect from TNA with their Impact shows. And this was really good. I love how the opening segment, then you show the Wolves, Austin Aries, then you show intros for both teams for the tag title match. You cut to commercial and you come back and the match hasn't started yet. I love the way that this was presented. This was a really good piece of structuring and producing this show this week by Impact. Something that frustrates me and aggravates me so much when I watch the WWE. A match gets started and then you cut to commercial. You don't sit there in the middle of a drive in a football game and cut to commercial. You don't cut in the middle of actual playing action in the NBA or Major League Baseball for a commercial. They usually have your structured periods or timeouts where you have those commercials there. But that way you're not missing any of the actual action. That way you actually get the feeling that what is going on is of consequence. And I love how TNA really set things up with their title matches for this week's show. And it started with the tag title match. And again, this is the type of stuff that you can do when you cut the length of those opening promo segments. Take note, WWE. As far as the tag title match itself, it was okay. Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised to see that it got the time that it probably needed and deserved. The finishing sequence was a little bit off to me, but what I really like about this is even though the Wolves won, there's still a reason for a feud here. There is a real reason now for a feud here. There is actually a story here with Bram and Magnus being aggressive after the fact and beating the ever-loving piss out of the Wolves. That's a good thing, trying to build an actual tag title feud. And then you get to the X Division Championship. You've got Sonata, you've got Austin Aries. And this match for the first few minutes actually was kind of and the crowd was kind of about it too. What really saved this match for me is the finishing sequence. The finishing sequence really made this match. I'm usually not a big fan of people kicking out of finishers, but when you progress and you push the levels and you have to go above and beyond in order to beat your opponent, I think it works very well, and it definitely worked very well here. And frankly, in my opinion, it really made the match. Now, some people will sit there and tell you that this was a great X Division title match. And in my opinion, they're fucking morons. This was a good X Division match, not a great one. We've seen some great X Division matches over the years, and I think to sit there and call this a great X Division match means you need to stop sucking TNA's dick so damn much all the time. However, that finishing sequence, something that I so often complain about with TNA matches, how the matches can be good and then the finishing sequence is so screwy and fucked up that it ruins the match. In this particular case, the finishing sequence saved the match and in my opinion really made the match. And Austin Aries, the greatest man that ever lived, is the X Division champion. And since I haven't read any spoilers, I don't know whether he's going to use option C at Destination X. I don't know. I don't care. I'm just happy to see that Austin Aries is the X Division champion. And even when you get to the Knockouts Championship. Now, here was the match here where you could sit there and still see, again, you've got Gail Kim, you've got Angelina Love, you've got Madison Rayne. Yes, you've got Brittany thrown into the mix. But I was kind of just waiting, frankly, for this match to get over. And it's like, you know, Gail Kim wins. Whoopee. Where do you go with that from here?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Dick Stone here, baby. And I think it's time for me to spit my truth out of my one-eyed rod of justice. Sonata, the cowboy tried to help you. He tried to give you some advice. But no, you thought you knew better. You thought doing flips and kicks and looking like the blonde PS Power was going to be enough. But it wasn't. You've now lost the X Division title. You have pissed off the cowboy James Storm. You have let down the great people of Japan and a legend, the likes of the great Muta. So here's what's gonna happen, Sonata. First, the cowboy James Storm's gonna whoop your ass. And then, and only then, will the great Muta come and he will kick your ass at Bound for Glory in Japan. Woo! Ride the Dick Storm, baby. That's what happens. You need to learn to listen to the cowboy James Storm. What would he know? He's just a former TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
While Bobby Lashley is the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, in my opinion right now, the money guy for TNA, the franchise player for TNA, in my opinion, has to be Bobby Roode. God damn, this guy has been on fire, at least from my standpoint recently. And you look here, him calling out MVP the way that he did, and then how you incorporate Kenny King, and you incorporate Eric Young, and then you incorporate Bobby Lashley. This was very well done. This was a really good segment. And what I really like about this is this felt a little bit to me like old school wrestling, where you have a three-man faction on one side, and you have one or two pieces on the other side, and you have the potential for three different rivalries or three different feuds, three different big matches, if you will, for a Bobby Roode. You've got freaking Kenny King. You've got MVP. And then maybe at some point in time, going down the road, you're maybe setting up to Bobby Roode versus Bobby Lashley, and if he still has a belt at that point in time, maybe it's a match for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And then you can incorporate Eric Young, and he could feud with MVP now that he's done with Lashley. You can knock him down to Kenny King. I love how this is being done. I love the fact that TNA is booking their black men very seriously. I love how they're interweaving different parts here. This was very well pulled off. There was only one thing that I could really have taken a pass on and totally done without on this week's show, and that is this kind of ECW reunion, if you will. And I understand that Bully Ray does a really good job of making issues feel personal, making issues that the audience can connect with. I don't dispute that, and I don't knock him for it. I applaud him for that. He has a rare ability in today's professional wrestling business to do that. At the end of the day, while it was great to not see Dixie Carter, and that was another huge plus for this week's show, you know, it's him and his freaking Rhino. And then out comes Tommy Dreamer to make the save and help Bully Ray. And I understand that TNA is doing this to set up to the New York City tapings, but I just don't have any interest in seeing a Bully Ray feud with a Rhino in any way, shape, or form. I don't have an interest in seeing Tommy Dreamer being featured as any type of redeeming character or savior type of presence. To me, I just take an entire pass on the whole fucking thing. And the main event of the night was a wrestling match, a novel concept, a good concept for a show called Impact Wrestling. They should consistently be ending their shows with matches, not with promo segments. And I'm glad that they went with this here, this 20-man battle royal to determine who would face Bobby Lashley in New York City. And like I said in the beginning of this review, maybe they did sit there and telegraph this a little bit by Kurt Angle asking for Willow to go away at least for one night and for Jeff Hardy to come back because he thinks Jeff Hardy needs to be the guy. And it is what it is, but I like, again, how this was set up. You know, it's not the greatest battle royal in the world, but it gets the job done. Jeff Hardy ultimately wins, and what I like about this is when it's all over, you get a little interview with Jeff Hardy, and then you get Bobby Lashley and you get a little face-off and a showdown, a really nice, effective way to plant the seed that you want to see this match come the New York City tapings. And what I really like about what TNA is doing with Bobby Lashley is that they're featuring him as a special attraction. You know, they did that little video segment where he's sitting there fucking doing this Battletoad Destroyer freaking pull-up set. It was fucking awesome. I love how they're not overexposing him. I love how they are sitting there and accentuating the positives and masking any of the negatives. And they are making him feel like a special attraction. And they're making it feel like a big deal that a Jeff Hardy gets the honor, the right, the privilege to face Bobby Lashley for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. So Slammiversary was kind of the turnaround point for me a little bit. While it wasn't a perfect show, it was a good, passable show. And maybe it helped TNA gain at least a little bit of a footing and gain a little bit of solid positive momentum, because to me each of the past 4 weeks Impact has progressively gotten a little bit better each week, which leaves me somewhat optimistic now heading into next week and the beginning of the New York City tapings. I hope TNA can keep this up, because this was a very easy show to sit through for 2 hours last night, and this was a very enjoyable show, most importantly of all, for me to sit through for 2 hours last night. A lot of good things going on, and like I said, I hope they deliver and deliver in the right way in the next few weeks with these New York City tapings.